professionalinvestor.com's daily brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich.
All right, hello everybody. Finally here, late stream. Oh, you're seeing my subtitles. Let's turn off the subtitles. Wait one sec. This is what I've been messing with for the last hour and a half to try to get working for you guys, so that we can have the subtitles right away and I can post my summary on the site. Let me just fix this because I don't think it's useful to see the subtitles while I'm running the stream. Let's see, properties. I want it just basically off. Let me just select font. Let's just make the size like 6. Okay, make it super small. I wanted opacity at 100%. Okay. Background opacity 0%. Opacity 0%. Okay, hopefully that should fix it. I think it should be good. Yeah. I think it's gone. Okay. Welcome, whoever's here. Hello, Raphael. Yes, Asia time. So essentially 2 shows this week because I didn't do one last Thursday. I'm trying to stay on the schedule. Morning is much better for me, so I can do a better analysis. Although it seems like less people view it, so we'll see. I'll try for another week, but if nobody's really participating and it doesn't get as many views, then I'll change back to the nighttime show, which I feel like my analysis is not as good, but if people prefer it, then I will do that instead. Hello, Min. I'm gonna shrink myself and we're just gonna get into it because things are playing out exactly as I predicted. And I'm feeling like a wizard from the future. So let's continue. I don't know how long I'm going to continue to be correct, but hopefully it's for a while, at least on the macro side. Like micro, ask me what's gonna happen in the next hour. I have no idea. No idea. But daily charts, weekly charts, so far track record's been really good. Okay, let's go into this. S&P. So we had a 8789 that was coming in. I talked about this on Monday's show, and you can see we are rolling over to a degree and had our pullback. Every time we've had a 789, there's been somewhat of a pullback. Pullback to the midpoint. I don't know how much further we're going to pull back. Oh, wow, my computer is overheating, I guess, from this translation software. Interesting. Okay, well, you guys let me know if it's like lagging a bit or any issues, but wow, it's getting very hot. That's surprising, considering this is like powerful computer. Yeah, BP shotgun 114.5 exactly. That might be the low, guys. That might be the low. I will talk about that in a bit. We'll get into it. Yeah, I'll look at ENA. I mean, I've talked about it a lot. I've been long since like 30 cents. Talked about it many times. So we can get into that later. But I want to talk about S&P to start. And also, I think I will shut down. I'm going to shut down one of my browser windows. Hold on. I'm going to shut down everything here. And hopefully that will help with the speed. Because right now we're running into some, seems like it's lagging. So this should help free up a lot of memory and space. Okay, let's get into things. Seems like it's faster already. A little bit faster. Okay, midpoint pullback on the S&P. And if we go down to lower time frames, you can see the 4 hours already kind of bouncing a bit here. Let's go back to the daily chart. So this was a breakdown. This is the first breakdown of our major uptrend since basically the start. This is the beginning of the end. This is when it gets hard, okay? I've been pretty spot on, full on bull train up until now, but now this is hard. This is when you get your range distribution and when a lot of people that were long the whole way start to give back their profits. So what I would recommend is be very cautious here because this is the harder part. So pullback happened as expected. That was easy. To our midpoint. Now, where do we go next from here? Well, final target has always been 6,640. Is it guaranteed to be hit? No. Is there a high chance? Yes. However, the question is, will we pull back more? Will we head to this 6,200, 6,100 level? It's a real possibility that we could head down here. And that's where we have to look at the lower time frames and where our accuracy, or at least my accuracy, decreases. So keep that in mind, okay? This most likely also caused the Bitcoin pullback and will determine, does Bitcoin head lower to that like 110, 111K area we've talked about? Or is that it? Is this the bounce? I mean, a very obvious, simple thing, right, is ABCD, which you guys have seen me do countless times. This brings us right to our major support level at around 62.30. So this is a very real scenario I could see happening. I would like to see it go below these lows. So somewhere 61.80, something like that. Stop out everyone who got long anywhere in July. That would be great. And is what I would really like to see. Is it a possibility? Yes, I'm leaning. So if I had to pick a direction, I would say stay short for now. If you're short, stay short. If you're looking to long, which you shouldn't have shorted, to be honest. It's way too bullish of an environment to short. But if you took profits on your longs, like I recommended, especially in last show, you should be looking for longs on this pullback down here. Because this is the area to long, and we should bounce up to continue up to our 6,600 target. That's what it's looking like to me. All right. Really, I don't have much more to go over here. I mean, that's it. It's that simple. I mean, I know I like to try to go longer because I know you guys like to listen, but for me, it's just that's it. There's nothing else to talk about. This is the target. This is where we're going to likely go. I would give it a 60 to 70% chance that this is what's going to happen. And that's kind of it on the S&P. Could we hit the lowest area on this uptrend right here? Yeah, we could wick to like 61.70. That's a real possibility. Let's look at expiry for this Friday. Let me separate the YouTube stream, bring this up here. And let's look at max pain going into, I mean, I guess today. Let me refresh it. Hello, Devin. If you are here, say hello. Huge call wall at 643, 638. So max pain is 63.50. And we're basically right there. So we're just going to probably expire in the max pain area. And then likely something's going to happen either with Russia or with the August 1st tariffs that are going into. I mean, most of the tariffs came out. They weren't that bad. I don't think it will be a tariff-driven thing, but there will be some kind of news that will come out to give the market the excuse to do this. Okay, this is what I expect to happen. And then we should bounce and move higher, and that's going to be your distribution. That move higher up to 66.50. That's you got to be cautious. That's kind of the end. Now, something to keep in mind also, by the way, is on the weekly chart. I pointed out we had a 9 here on the weekly. Every single time we've had a 9 before, the market is reversed. Look at this. Reversal, 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 short-term reversal. Here, this 2 weeks up, then reversal, bigger reversal. 7, slight reversal, 7, reversal, 8, reversal. You see how almost every time it's happened. However, look at the recent one. This was a bit weird. We didn't reverse. This was a bit odd that we had no reversal. Very low chance that this would have happened, but this is what played out. And I just wanted to point out, like, it hasn't happened in almost 2 years where within 2 weeks of a 9 coming in, you didn't get a reversal. So very, very strange, different market than we've been dealing with before. That is not conforming to historical norms related to certain metrics. All right, so if we want to continue this uptrend, we want to hit the target. Again, pullback I think is healthy. Wash out longs all the way down here to 61.80, something like that, and then move higher. You can see how the market did this here, where during June, we essentially went up the whole month. We had a big pump, and after a liquidation run down to the lows, almost below the lowest low in June, before then moving higher, which is very common for the market to do. It would be very easy to just pull back here, quick wick, and then move higher. That's it. So that's kind of the S&P. We can look at Nvidia. I know everybody's interested in Nvidia. Nvidia has just gone absolutely crazy. I want to look at like a 2-week chart. When do I think crypto market cap will hit 10 billion? Well, keep watching and we'll talk about it after we finish stocks. So I've got to do a little bit with stock market. I can't only do crypto because honestly, crypto is, everybody's interested in crypto, but crypto's only a small part of the market. Like, yes, the share of crypto is going to get bigger, but honestly, it follows the rest of the market. It's just a high beta play on the rest of the stock market. Okay. Nvidia. Oh, this is a tough one. So monthly, a 2-week chart, we're still very bullish. If we go to a monthly, see how the monthly is bullish, but it is setting up a divergence. So keep in mind that we're coming to the end here. Okay. This is not early stage. This is late stage. Okay. So just understand that this is late stage ball game, and once Nvidia rolls over, everything's kind of over, right? Everything's going to come down. So just something to keep in mind, and that's part of the reason it's important to look at things like Nvidia to see when is Nvidia bull run over, and when that's over, a lot of things are over. Pretty much everything is going to be over, and you can see how we've had this bull trend for quite a while. Nothing on the weekly indicating it's over yet. Not even on the 3-day. I can just see a short-term pullback, and then we move higher. The question is, where are we heading? Like, what's the ultimate target? I mean, this was the original W that we bounced off of, right? Right, like that. So, you know, even my most aggressive target right here puts us at 185. Right, so this lines up with my 2.618 level. Move higher, tags 3.59 a bit, and then our final target is 185. We're basically there. So I could see a bit of a pullback and then a push up to 185. I don't see it going much higher than this. So that's Nvidia. Can look at like NDX, right? Actually, I don't want to look at NDX. There's not as much data. We can look at the US 100. Then we get 24 hours of data. Yeah, so you can see how there's kind of like a divergence forming here. Look at the monthly. This monthly does not look great, right? So last time we had something like what we're seeing here was back here at 2018 before we had the dump later in the year in September, October, November. Then you had your big dump. We're seeing something similar essentially here, right? Extreme market volatility, by the way. So this is your divergence building, and eventually this will roll over. It has to. But I don't think it's tomorrow, and I don't think it's next week. I think you have a little bit of time, and this pullback is a buying opportunity. So same with, we can look at the same thing, right? With US 100, it's going to be very similar to, oops, I hate that. You know what, I'm just going to update it. This computer is definitely stressing with this new translation software. It's very hot. Very hot. I guess I'm running too many things. Is it lagging for you guys at all? Hello, Lori. Welcome. Are you guys noticing any lag? So look at how perfectly this aligns with levels. Like 1.618 was basically rejected here. 2.618 was rejected here. And we've just been slowly moving up, and we've got our last target at 25,000. That's going to be essentially your blow off top level, that's another 9%. 9% from here. Maybe, you know, there's going to be other stocks in the NASDAQ that outperform Nvidia. I don't see that much more upside from Nvidia. I think other stocks will make up for it. And if we continue on the current slope, the question is, when do we hit that level, right? So if this is our upward slope, and we think we're going to hit this 4.669, the earliest it can happen is mid-September. I have a hard time believing this is going to happen. I really do, considering I think crypto is going to have its blow off top pretty soon. Maybe we have to shift our time analysis. Maybe things are delayed by 1 month, perhaps because of what's going on with the TGA refill. They delayed the original TGA refill plans and are now apparently doing it, refilling it right now, which is explaining part of the reason for the market pullback. Like, yes, there will be news that'll come out and stuff, but the real reason is TGA refills, which is draining liquidity out of the market, and then they'll pump more back in. We can also look at, you know, M2 money supply, right? That's a big one with Colin Talks Crypto. I'm not going to claim that it's mine, but it's worked pretty well up until this point. Let me see if we can show it. Pin to scale. Pin to new right scale. Yeah. So here's the consolidation that's been going on. Let me just make sure the date range is correct. Damn, my computer is really struggling with these subtitles. Surprised. Yeah, so I have it at 82. I think that's pretty accurate. I think Colin changed it to like 90. So this has us topping out exactly in mid-September. So this is interesting because this matches up. Everything will match up. So we have our slope, which also points to, so for the S&P, believe it or not, our target points to the beginning of September, but you know, it could be the latest, would be like October. So somewhere in that September, October range is where everything looks like it wants to top. So the earliest is for the NASDAQ would be September 20th. And if we look at M2 money supply, it's also September 20th. However, you get a second bounce mid-October. So perhaps, so generally how crypto tops, right? If we go back, normally you get like this. I'm going to get rid of the M2 money supply thing. Normally you get tops by having one, a pullback, and then a second peak. And there's about a 30-day window in between, right? We've gone over this like date range. So here's your first top and how much to your second top. Yeah, 30 days. So you get just 30 days always for everything. Everything's 30 days, right? So when we took off with this rally, and when did we top? That was like 42 days. But you had a spike at 30, which was not far from the original top. So rally 30 to 40 days. You can see here again, right? I did this in a previous stream. Like if you go back 2 weeks, so here you go, 40 days. This was 30, and then you kind of had your just like final blow off here as well, right? Actually, this one was shorter, only 22 days. But I bet if we go to like 42 days, you're going to have a push higher by the time you're here. Bitcoin seems to be preparing for that. And this is in a context of the broader market, right? So it's not just Bitcoin, it's everything. And you can see just how we formed a bull flag here. We're forming another bull flag here for that eventual move higher to my ultimate target of 135 to 140, which could be exceeded by a target up to 170 eventually by mid-September or something like that. But my October target, or sorry, August target, which I've talked about multiple times, is in this 135, 140 area. This pullback has to finish soon if we want to hit that target. Okay, another one I'm keeping an eye on is UNH. Pretty surprised that it's still dumping this much, but I'm going to keep talking about it. I don't recommend any further buys until we break out of this daily downtrend. I don't like how it's looking down here. So you have to let this play out. and then see if, I think they just reported earnings. Oh, yeah, surprise. Reported estimate. Yeah, so they beat the estimate by a very tiny amount on revenue, but surprised by the downside in earnings per share. I don't think it really matters. I would just wait for this momentum indicator to cross over, and then you can consider longs. Until then, don't touch it. Just wait for the RSI to cross over. That would be my recommendation at this point. But it could be a while because I'm sure there was a lot of people that bought options calls in this area. When you have a big drop like this, people buy calls a lot, and the market makers like to let it just sit there and either go in the opposite direction of most of the options or do nothing for 30 to 60 days until all the premiums are burned out, and then they make the move. So that's kind of what's going on with UNH. Do I want to talk about any other stocks? Car is one I've been watching. So they just recently reported earnings and dumped hard. They had a big run up, and I shorted up here around like 180 area. So I'm enjoying watching this short. It may bounce with the rest of the market, fill this gap, and then finally roll over. So look for that gap fill, and then that's going to be kind of your area to look for shorts. So that's another one that I think needs to come back down and is way a bit too expensive. I just think it's overvalued. What else do I have that I want to talk about? I always talk about Qubit and IonQ. So IonQ and Qubit making quite a topping pattern. This is a weekly chart. I don't know how you can't say that this isn't a topping pattern. Daily chart recently broke down, so I am short on IonQ. I was short for a while. I temporarily took off my short up here because it was looking like it was going to break out on a daily chart, but now I put it back on because it looked like we were going to break down again. So IonQ, I'm looking for quite a big pullback. Same thing with Qubits, although it looks a bit better, but still not great. Looks like a double top with divergence, especially on like a weekly chart, and it's just ready to break down. This will break down hard once it does. So those two I'm in shorts and looking for nice pullbacks, at least to the 200-day moving average. In that case of Qubits, it's like 850, and IonQ, it's at least 33. But I think IonQ can go much lower than that. So those are those two. Cyber, I can look at Cyber. I don't even know what that is. It's a crypto coin. Okay, so I'll look at it later when we're looking at crypto. If you guys have any questions about stocks, we can look at stocks right now. But if not, then I'll just jump into crypto. Anything? Anything for stocks? Trying to see if there's anything I want to talk about. Yeah, that's a crypto. So everybody just wants to look at crypto. There's almost no interest in stocks. That's what I'm hearing. Boeing still looks kind of bullish to me. With all the tariff deals, I could see it moving higher. Nice W. It bounced off of here. So I would like to see a move up to like 370, even just above 300. I could see that happening with Boeing after this pullback's over. So that's something I'm watching. All right, I'll get to crypto. You guys don't care about stocks. We can jump to crypto. First things first, Bitcoin, obviously. My initial first long was at 114,500. We went to 114,300, 330. Is that the low? I'm not sure. It like I said, if it's going to follow the stock market, we likely get one more lower move. And that could look something like, right? So something as simple as this ABCD here. But with Bitcoin, you never know for sure what the exact bottom is. And I found it helps to layer into positions. So my first entry is at 114.5. And then I have following entries at, I have one at 113. I said them in the Discord. Wait a second. Let's go to my Discord. Julian trades. Yeah, so here is the clip, the summary from the show on Monday. So I make these summaries. I'm going to make one right after this show. So if you don't have time to watch the show or you want reminders, I make this summary on everything I talk about in the show. 114 to 112 was the original. Let's see, where is, okay, so here were the buys around these levels, 113.5, 113, 112, 112. And that's kind of my buy levels. I think somebody asked to stop. So stop, I think, would be down here below like 106. It's quite a big stop, but these are just like spot position buys. If you're looking at leverage, I would kind of wait till we get like the wick, and then you can enter on leverage longs. I think it's very like risky to enter on leverage longs into these wicks, and I recommend more so spot positions. If you really want to be risky, you can enter and stack into the position. Just understand that there's a chance you can be liquidated. Like maybe you get amazing entries, and I've had some amazing entries, but I've also been liquidated before doing it that way. Where on the other hand, I think it can work better where you do something like this. You see on the 1 hour chart, you kind of had this pullback, and then you had a nice bounce. So you wait for this initial bounce, and you get in on the second part, but that doesn't always happen. So that's a risk you're going to take. But there should be a pullback, and you can enter, and you set your stop below the lows. That's a strategy if you're looking for, you know, you want to be super leverage degen. But I'm not kind of here to teach on how to trade futures. I'm just giving you my thoughts on what I think is going to happen with the market. Not financial advice, right? I got to say that. Everyone has to say that, not financial advice. I wonder what that means when it says that you guys are like little kings. Number 1, number 2, number 3. It says you're like a top fans. What does that mean? I wonder how you got the XP. Interesting. Not looking good here. This could continue lower with final target around 112, and that's why my buys are layered kind of down to 112. I'll be surprised if we go lower than that, but there is potential to go to wick all the way down to this like 108 level. That's like worst case scenario. I would be surprised if we get there, but if you're like trying to enter via leverage positions, I would make sure that your stop or your liquidation level is below that 108,000 level, just to be careful. That would be my recommendation. And you can see we're already kind of rolling over, pulling back, you know. But this could, you know, keep in mind again, if we don't breach these lows, we can just bounce and head higher from here. And that's why I want it to be long right here, 114,500. So I am in that, but if we go lower, great, I'll get filled more. If not, I'm still in a nice long position, just not at the size I'd love to be at. Well, that's kind of the Bitcoin scenario. Everything's going to roll over with that, right? Everything kind of follows Bitcoin. Everybody knows that. I mean, look at the SPX500. This is a big position I have in this one. I'm still holding it. And my target is up here at about $3. So you can see how our original 4.669 target at 1.7 was tagged. You didn't have much time to get out of that, but the final target is up here at around 2.9. I'll probably exit around 2.8 or so. That's what I'm looking for in SPX500. Having a bit of a pullback here, just washing out those longs from most of July, and then we should move higher. Link is another one I'm watching closely. It's bouncing off the uptrend line here. So this has kind of been its uptrend. Actually, we can adjust just a tiny bit there. And just a little bit of an adjustment. Like that. You can see how it tagged the bottom of this trend line. And it's been moving up ever since. I don't expect it to go much lower. However, I have buys laddered down all the way to about 15.5. I don't expect it to go lower than that. I expect outperformance from the altcoins. Like if we look at, so this is one that I'm very bullish on. I'll talk about ENA as well. But if we look at, for example, BTCD, I could see going up as high as 62.8. That's it, just something like that. And then you're going to head lower. So that's what I'm seeing there. I want to see a breakdown in this uptrend. That's when alt season's really going to start, when this big, we'll go to a weekly chart. This needs to break down. So once this breaks down, right, that's when alt season's really going to start. You need to see this break down below 59%. And then that's when the alts are really going to go crazy. That'll be when Bitcoin tops out, that kind of stuff. But as far as in the short term, which I know you guys want to know about, it's kind of like this. Should be something along these lines. Right, a bit of a bounce up to, you know, that might be aggressive, about 62.5. And then you roll over again. So alts might get hurt a little bit more in the short term. For example, the others index is one that I follow closely, right? And I've laid out our targets. We've M'd out and broken down a bit here. I could see us pulling back to the 200-day moving average around 250 before heading higher again. You could say this is like your ABCD, right? Like that. And then you pull back all the way to here. And that gets you up to 34, 349. Although if we don't pull back much more, it does line up quite a bit better with my 2.618 resistance target up here. So I do like what I'm seeing there. I would be heavily looking to long alts in this pullback. That would be my recommendation. And you can watch the others index to kind of give you a better overall view of where things are going, because I think individual charts are kind of hard to watch, while the other index kind of gives you an indication of the whole market, and wherever it starts bouncing from, that's kind of where the rest of your coins are going to bounce from. Yeah, somebody asked about, well, let's talk about ENA first. You know, I've talked about it a lot. ENA, let's go to a weekly chart. So far, bullish on a weekly chart. I don't like, well, actually, it looks good. This is great on a weekly as far as momentum is concerned. Daily uptrend still basically intact, starting to break down slightly, but this is definitely not over by a long shot. We're just tagging this 1.618 level, rejecting. Next is 85 cents at 2.618 before finally blowing up at, you know, 134. That's a great. This is my favorite, one of my favorite coins. I think it's going to do very well, mostly because of the Genius Act and that kind of stuff. And if you read Arthur Hayes' articles, ENA is basically a big beneficiary of everything that's going on with legislation in the U.S. And I think that's going to be a big thing this cycle, is you have to see what coins benefit from the legislation going on in the U.S. That's a big thing that you have to look into. I think any buy below 60 cents is going to perform well. I don't see any reason to be bearish on this just yet. If you really want to like sniper entry, you might get a liquidation down here to like 50 cents, maybe before bounce, but I'm not sure. I bought down here around 56 cents earlier today. That was good for me. Where can we see a retrace? Yeah, I just kind of told you. So you can just follow that. So 48 to 50 cents might be like the best buy area, but I'm not going to guarantee that's going to happen. I already bought in at 56 cents. If we go lower, like down here to like 50 cents, I'll buy more. But I already bought here, 56 cents. No, actually I bought back here. So it bounced and I didn't sell again because it's just a spot position for me and I want higher. Okay, Cyber. I don't know what this is, but okay. doesn't look that different from, well, actually it does. Yeah, you got a little baby W here, right? And looks like weekly chart breakout, 1.618 tag, rejection. Yeah, I mean, it can go to like 350. I could see 350. Maybe if you're lucky, $5. I don't know about that one. It doesn't look that strong here. It went from $1 to about $1.50. It's kind of trading just like the rest of altcoins. Yeah, 350 looks about right for a short-term move. If everything pushes higher, that's where I could see it. That's where I could see it moving to. Hopefully that's helpful. What else did you guys ask about? ENA. Yeah, just ENA. Ethereum, right? Everyone's interested in Ethereum. Where can Ethereum go, right? The big target is 4,000. We came just short of that. See how we've been just in a big, huge range since 2021. No real breakout, but you did have a breakout on the weekly chart here. Massive push higher. Obviously, the move is not over yet, but the main question is when do we reverse from this pullback? I think I don't see why we wouldn't go below these lows quickly. 3,500, just take them out, go back to mid-July, even head back down to 3,300 before moving higher. That would make a lot of sense to me. I would be very surprised if that doesn't happen. I want to see some type of pullback. Even look at this range. See, like, okay, well, what happened here? A conservative target would point to 4,280 for this range. More aggressive target, $5,000. Those are kind of my two potential targets. So 4,000 area, just above these highs, or 5,000 eventually. Those are kind of the two targets for me. This actually looks like I don't want to quote on this because I think it can either look like magic or it can be complete trash, but you could say that this is something like this, right? Maybe we head down to like 33 and then you get the last blow off and it could go to here or it just go to here for Ethereum, and that's kind of it, at least in the short term for the next like couple weeks. Yeah, sure, okay. Just like calling out things like, look at this, do this, no thank yous. You should say thank you, right? Thank yous are nice. I don't want to be like President Trump, or not Trump. What is his name? JD Vance with Zelensky. But I kind of can understand how they might want to thank you sometimes, since considering this is all free and I don't make any money from it at all, like almost none. I just do it for fun a bit and to kind of review for myself, and that's why I want to save the subtitles to translate with ChatGPT, and then I have a summary and I can check back on it and like, okay, well, this is what I did myself, and then I just share it with you guys for free for the most part. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I appreciate that. All right, that's now we're going in the sarcasm area. I might have to ban you, might have to kick you out. Well, I don't know how I feel about sarcasm. Anyway, since you asked so nicely and said thank you, we will look at Litecoin. Obviously retraced to this top point. This is a common retrace that happens, and it's forming a bull flag, and we should likely continue higher. It's quite simple, right? So you just have an ABCD, and then your potential target is right here at around 140, which is just the old highs. I don't expect anything extreme from Litecoin. Let's see here. We could, you know, if we're really bullish on Litecoin, we could go to this weekly chart, right? And we could say down here is your W. Get rid of these. This is your W. Actually, there's a lot of W's here, right? Some W's fail. See how this was like a massive W and then it just failed? Now we have like a baby W. There's just so many W's. But let's say this is your W. And we just tagged like the 1.618 extension of that W. So that points to $200 for Litecoin, which is a double from here. Now, if we look at the entire range of Litecoin, right here, you can see that even just getting to that 38.2 is around that $200 area, which would make sense to me because Litecoin might be kind of a dead coin. I mean, unless 401ks are enabled to buy it. Like the 401ks being enabled to buy crypto is a big thing. Okay, don't discount that. Read Arthur Hayes' articles about what's coming as far as liquidity with crypto and 401ks being able to buy crypto. That's potentially the big thing. But in the short term, I don't see it going beyond $200. Like that, it's a double. I mean, almost everything we've looked at, there's potential for double to triple. That's kind of all I'm seeing. I'm not really seeing 10x's. You'd have to go to like the lower market cap coins, but the ones that will 10x are probably coins that we haven't even heard of with products we haven't even heard of yet. Like they're not popular yet. So that's what I'm looking at with Litecoin. I just don't see beyond that. Let's see what else. We can look at, you know what is like an old one that I don't think is going to do well, but it's like a gaming coin, right? Is like Sand. So Sand's just been sitting down here after its massive blow off. Let's say like there's Insanity that comes back with gaming. You could see like 87 cents, right? So that's like a triple. Nothing extreme. That's all I see. I mean, you go back to the 2024 highs. I don't see much beyond that. So when I say like the coins that are going to do the 10x, 20x, we probably haven't even heard of yet. So just keep that in mind. And if you want to make those kind of 10x returns, I think you do need to look into leverage and opening leverage longs. The issue is, you know, catching that bottom, right? So I would watch Bitcoin to see when we're going to reverse, and that's kind of the hardest thing. Is like, are we going to reverse here? I'm going to set an alert right here for this 30-minute. So if we cross over, then that's a good signal to me that maybe that's the bottom, and I'm going to keep an eye on that because I want to wait. I want to wait for that cross before I take any like leverage longs that I might get liquidated on. I've done that where I've taken a position early. I thought I had a great entry, and then I got stopped out. X100 long, great. Yeah, total degen. What else? I don't really have anything else. BTCD, you can see it moving up here already. Trying to think, is there anything else on my radar that I'm paying attention to? Not really. Somebody asked about Sui. You can look at Sui. Sui's all over the place. This is not a fun coin to trade. Not really breaking out or anything. Big breakout. It doesn't look as good as Litecoin or Link. Sorry. Let's say this is. Let's get rid of this here. That's basically your uptrend, and you're sitting right at the bottom of the uptrend at this point. It could go lower. You really need to see this reverse and form a bottom. It doesn't look bad on a 4-hour chart time frame, but this could go lower. It really could. I would wait for this reversal and then consider getting long. So far, it's doing a good job of stopping out anyone that got into long. So anyone after July 13th has been basically stopped out, assuming they move their stops to break even. July 1st is all the way down here. I don't expect it to go lower than that. Where could where could we expect this to go? Let's see something here. Like, let's look at this range. Retrace to 38.2. Typically in a range, if you want to long, you've got to long it down here. But I don't think we're in a range. I think we're moving up. So in that case, you hit 38.2 or 50%, and you long in those areas. If Bitcoin gets its second dip, you could see us head all the way to 312, and I would consider longs in that area. If we don't get that second dip, if Bitcoin doesn't roll over anymore, then you're going to bounce from this area. That's the key point right there. Save this. Maybe we'll take a quick look at Bitcoin one last time, see if I missed anything. No, daily chart still looks like doesn't look great. Problem is this daily chart doesn't look good on Bitcoin. Just doesn't. I'd love to see like a 7 or 8 come in here. But if it doesn't and we roll over further, this is not the same Bitcoin chart I was looking at before. What the hell? Let's go back. Yeah, okay. This is the one I want to look at. Why is it not showing me my, there we go, on a 30-minute chart. Yeah. Not much else to say. I mean, that's the scenario. So either we're going to bounce here in the short term, and my 114.500 buy was the buy, or we roll over one more time and we hit around 1,1200. Those are the two scenarios I'm looking at. I'm leaning towards that is more likely to happen simply because of how the stock market looks. The stock market looks like it needs one more drop, and I think Bitcoin will follow that. That's what I'm leaning towards. But this is hard mode now. It's harder. It's going to be harder the next month to 2 months while we go through this kind of like final blow off top process. It's always harder near the end because that's the distribution area, and you want to eke out that last bit of profits, and yet not get killed in the crash, right? Raphael said, Sui is sitting on the main trend line from the last 2 peaks like a big wedge on the weekly. Okay. Yeah, we can look at a weekly. Sui is sitting on the main trend line from the last 2 peaks. Like this. Yeah, I mean, it's just another line providing support. These lines, like on higher time frames, they mean something, but on lower time frames, they can just, you can just do that, just wick down. So if you're in leverage, I mean, you just get liquidated here. That's why I like to point them out, and I appreciate you showing it, but just understand that sometimes the market doesn't care about them, and it will just go where the liquidity is, which is something else I want to show quickly. But I don't really believe in this so much anymore. Like, yes, you have some liquidations all the way down to about 110 over on the 12-hour chart. And if we go to like the 1-week chart, most of the liquidity is above in 120K, but you can see there's still some down here if they want to grab it. But I don't put too much precedent in this. There's always liquidity on both sides, and in the end, the market's just going to do whatever it kind of wants to do. And I found like putting too much emphasis on this is not, it just doesn't help as much. You can see, for example, right now, like on the 30-day, like if we go to a 30-day, right, you've got more liquidations to the downside, 8.2 billion, while to the upside, you've got like 10 billion, but you need a bigger move to get there. You could go down to like 113 and apparently liquidate a lot on the 30-day. But if we go to a 1-day, There's not that much, right? You've only got about 1 billion. So the question is, I mean, obviously to the upside, there's more liquidation, but maybe they want to grab this liquidation before they head up to grab the rest. I used to use it, but now I just don't see the point because the market is going to go wherever it wants to go in the short term. And I found just looking at the charts works better than looking at liquidation levels. I've also been watching this, right? So we topped out here on 13th, 19th, which was kind of the peak, and now we're pulling back a bit. So we need this pullback to get people to not be interested, so then the market can have its next leg up. I mean, if we look at Bitcoin, right? Yeah, so you see how the peak. So now it needs to drop, people lose interest, then we can have the next pump, bring people in with the new interests, and then we can distribute to them once again. And that's how the cycle kind of repeats. You can see the same thing happen in November. Probably peaked around November, December, right? So you can go back to that and you can see that. Damn, here we go. Where's November, December? So November what? When was the peak excitement? November 10th to 16th. So what happened here? So that was the big move. Once it happened, November 10th was when people kind of started searching, 81,000, and then November 11th, and it just continued until November 16th was the peak for searching, and we only went a little bit higher, and then the move kind of fizzled out. It went a little bit higher to suck people in when they're interested, get them to buy, and the market makers spent this whole time here distributing. So when the search volume peaks out, you know that for about, so this was the peak, you get a little bit higher move, and then you get 60 to 90 days of distribution. And that's what happened here. Actually, the peak was, once the peak happened, you had 60 days of distribution, which is very common, okay? So once we get that peak euphoria, we should get a little bit of a higher move and then 60 days of distribution. So I'm thinking something like this, where we move up here to this 130, 140, people are gonna be super interested. We get a further move up to like 160, and then you get that 2 months of distribution with primarily a final top in the October area. Not like maybe the top is in September, but the rollover happens October, November, that kind of time frame. But you get those 60 days of distribution to kind of exit your positions while the news is talking about it nonstop, people are searching about it nonstop, and trying to enter while smart money is selling. And that's what continually happens. So just understand that's the process. Try not to screw it up. Like, we've been through this a couple times now. Let's try not to mess it up. Yeah, I think, Rocky, we will get a bit of an alt season, of course. That will happen after Bitcoin tops. Alts will top 1 to 2 weeks later. That's what's going to happen. Do I think it's going to be extreme like 2021, 2022? I don't think so. I think you're not going to see something like that. I think the important thing to do is watch M2 money supply. So M2 says that we're going to top basically September 20th. I think alts will top probably October, sometime on October. That's going to be your top. And you can see how 20 to 16, that was like 1 month of distribution. We'll probably go a little bit longer. So we'll go out to November, and then in November we'll roll over. That's kind of what I'm seeing. That's what M2 money supply is showing. And as much as I hate to admit it, it's been very accurate. Very, very, very accurate. You can see how well everything kind of lines up here. So there's getting our pullback, and then we get our one final push, and that's it. It's that easy. Okay. Oh, I'm surprised we had 27 people. Okay, hopefully you guys enjoyed the morning show from Asia, evening show, late night show, called the late night edition, for anyone in the US. I should have the summary up in the Discord like within 5 to 10 minutes after this, hopefully, assuming my recording software worked well. And anyone that likes those summaries can see them. If you're not a member of TRI, consider joining, and then you can get access to those summaries. which I think are very helpful to track how have my predictions been doing. Okay, and like, if you're in the Discord, make sure to like it. Like the show, like the summaries in the Discord. That helps, since I don't really make that much money from this. It's very small in the grand scheme of things. The likes are a good encouragement for me to keep wanting to do it. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate your participation.